Hello, DeSoto, and welcome to another edition of DeSoto In-Depth, where we take one of those issues that people might be talking about in DeSoto or we think would be important for people to know, and we give it a little more in-depth discussion. You might have heard, especially if you watch our city council meetings, that DeSoto has a new fire chief. But he's not that new. He's new in the position, but he's been with us for 21 years. So I'd like to give a warm DeSoto welcome to a DeSoto veteran, Bryan Southard. Chief, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
So by now we're starting our broadcast in the morning. The caffeine is hopefully kicking in. Has the new position, the realization that, hey, you're calling the shots now, has that kicked in yet?
I don't think it's quite kicked in. We actually had a conversation this morning where it seems like this week has just been a whirlwind as we're trying to get my feet up under me and get going. So I don't think it's quite kicked in, but here in the next few weeks, I have a feeling it'll all come hit me at once. Yeah, well, I think you keep busy enough where you just haven't had time to really give it a lot of thought. That's it.
Do want to stress that for years you'd seen our previous fire chief up here, Jerry Duffield. Jerry's moving up north to some new opportunities, and he's basically built a great team here and wanted to leave it in capable hands. And you are the first to answer the call officially, and there's been some changes in the department to support you in your new position. So we want to wish Chief Jerry well as he moves on to some new challenges, and we want to find out a little bit about you. You don't look a lot over 21, but you spent 21 hard years protecting DeSoto. Why don't you tell us a little bit about getting into the fire service, why DeSoto, and what you've learned over the years?
Absolutely. So my dad was a volunteer firefighter for over 20 years. In fact, he was a volunteer fire chief in the small community where I grew up in. And so at 14 years old, there was no one else to help him fight fire, so he used to take me with him. And so that's what got me interested in the fire service. And then once I graduated high school, there was absolutely no doubt I knew I wanted to be a fireman. And I started testing, and DeSoto hired me, and I'll never forget the interview question of, you're so young. I was young. I was 21 when DeSoto hired me. You're so young. What's going to keep you here and keep you from going to a bigger fire department? And I told them then I'm a loyal person, and if you give me the opportunity, I will stay and see it all the way through. And so here we are 21 years later, and I've seen it all the way through to where I am now.
And we are better off for it. Now, that actually presents a very serious issue for not only DeSoto Fire but police. We have very good training. Once we train a candidate, they become a full-fledged, whether it's firefighter or police officer, they're an attractive commodity. I know that we had, during our public safety meeting last night, one of the participants was talking about her son or her nephew became a police officer, and he was recruited constantly by other departments. So aside from loyalty, what is it about DeSoto Fire that's so attractive to the people who stay here long term?
So the training center that we have is what really attracted and kept me. So we are big into training here, as you just mentioned, and we do fire training academies, we do EMT schools, we do leadership trainings, and as a firefighter in DeSoto, you get the opportunity to go on and become an instructor and then instruct in the same classes that you were taught in. And so that is a big draw and something that really keeps our firefighters here, because they like to get involved and get interested in passing on what they've learned. So it's kind of a generation. I pass on what I've learned to the next generation. They pass on what they learned. And so that's what really helped intrigue me and keep me here in this fire department. And then we just continue to pass it on to hopefully keep others here. And
so people are aware, Chief Duffield, who your predecessor, I remember him saying at some various points, and thought I had my little alerts down. Of course, I could always blame it on emergency responders, but it came off of my side of the lectern. He had talked about, I think, you going to chief school and training to be a chief. So it hasn't sunk in, but the underlying training, not just as a firefighter, but what you need to do in your current position, that's something that your predecessor helped you with.
Right, and that was something Chief Duffield was really big on, was succession planning, was what does each individual firefighter see for themselves in their future career. And for me personally, I told Chief I wanted to be a fire chief one day, and so that's where he set me. If you want to be a fire chief, this is what you need to do. From higher education to the chief level classes, he lined everything out, and I just followed his blueprint that he put in front of me to get all the education and training that I needed to where I could get an opportunity like this to become a fire chief.
And when you go to chief school, I mean, what's it like? You have to bring an apple for the teacher, sit up near the front of the class, or is it just a bunch of veteran firefighters who basically know their stuff who are getting that final training?
We think we know our stuff for sure, but it is a bunch of veteran firefighters that all have the same aspirations of one day wanting to be fire chiefs. So we all go to those classes, and we learn together, and we grow together, and it's a great, not only do you learn, but it's a great networking opportunity to meet and become close friends with all the area chiefs from all the area fire departments.
I want to talk a little bit about your background and your training, and I apologize, although you know my sense of humor, we had to slip in the Photoshop. We threw that on because you have some degrees and some background in firefighting. You have a certification from Texas A&M Engineering Extension, Certified Fire Executive, EMS Chiefs Academy, and so on and so on. You have a bachelor's degree and an associate's degree. Why don't you talk to us about how those various items have helped you get where you are today?
Absolutely. So the college degree, obviously, as you get up into chief level officers and you want to become fire chiefs, you've got to have the degrees to get there. And I hear a lot of people say, well, it's just a piece of paper, and I get that, but it's what you've got to do to earn that piece of paper that sets you apart.
A birth certificate, a wet marriage certificate are just a piece of paper,
exactly right.
But don't try to tell that to your wife or the authorities, because
exactly right.
Some pieces of paper have a little more weight than the others.
And so that's what I learned earning those degrees, the work that it put in, the commitment that you have to have, and then, of course, the learning. My bachelor's degrees, and obviously I picked public safety and emergency management because I knew that's where I wanted to head to be a fire chief, and so the experience and the learning you get from that is phenomenal. The Fire Chiefs Academy and the Fire Service Chief Executive Officer class that I took, those are great learning tools. To be chief level officers in any fire department, there's 4 major distinctions that here in Texas that we really look at in chief level officers. So I've got 2 of the 4 that are up there, and I'm working on the 3rd of the 4, and then eventually I will get the 4th, so I'll have all 4 of them. But it just is professional development and just helps make you better in what you do.
When Chief Jerry Duffield was leaving, I think we had a promotion ceremony for your colleague. I think it was Brian Whitaker, and also we had Brandon Freeman, both received it. And I remember Chief Jerry saying to Brian, and you're going to continue to get your degree, correct? And it was like, yeah. So I think that everybody in your department, especially in upper management, you keep getting training.
That's it. Never stops. I tell my kids all the time, you think when you get out of high school that you're done, but you're never done. The training, the schooling, it never stops.
So you have been assistant chief since 2018 May,
yes, sir.
I think it was. And I remember, even though this ceremony took place a little later, there was a first ever award ceremony for DeSoto Fire Rescue. And if people look at the picture, my memory from that, besides that I didn't realize there were that many firefighters in the city of DeSoto, was your daughter pinning on your rank, even though you had already held that rank for a while. What are your memories from this ceremony, and how's your daughter doing?
She is doing great. You know, my biggest memory from this ceremony is she was actually not feeling well when we were there. And I remember leaving, and she said, Dad, I don't feel well, and she ended up with strep throat when that was all said and done.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember my wife couldn't be there because she had something to do with work, and so my daughter went and pinned me. And I know she was very excited to be able to go pin me and do that.
Question is, did Papa get strep throat
No,
after
Papa
that?
did not. I was able to stay away from it, surprisingly.
Well, you're our first responders, and you're constantly dealing with people who might be sick, and I guess you probably learned some tricks of the trade for immune system and protection.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad your daughter, drum roll please, stepped up.
She did.
But she did. That was a wonderful event. If people look at the slide also, people love DeSoto, it's loyalty, but sometimes you have to go where the opportunity is when you're just starting out. And understand that you have a son who is a firefighter nearby in Cedar Hill.
That's correct. My son Hunter, who he graduated high school 2 years ago, he did the same thing. As soon as he graduated, he went straight into fire school and EMT school. He wanted to be a fireman, and he ended up getting hired in Cedar Hill, and he's currently a firefighter in Cedar Hill. Yeah,
well, all I know is he probably gets indoctrinated on DeSoto fire all the time.
Yeah, he does.
And that's something you mentioned that's very interesting. A lot of people figure I have to go get my advanced degree before I could earn a living, before I do that, or if I start working without that degree, I might be doing what I'm doing forever. In the fire service, at least in DeSoto, getting hired is just the start of your education.
That is absolutely correct. So, you know, like with my son and myself, I wanted to be a fireman like he did, so we went to that specific trade school training, fire school, EMT school, paramedic school, and then once we got hired and began, we continued our education, and we went back to college to get our degrees, which is what he is doing now, which is what I did. So there's, just because you go to that specific trade school and you get on in a fire department, that doesn't mean that your education and your training has to stop. You can continue on. In fact, we have whole shifts right now that go to school together, and they do their work together while they're at the fire station. When they're not running calls, they do their school work, and just to continue to further their education.
And I know we're going to get into different branches of the fire service and what you do, but a lot of the training, even I as a spokesperson, as a public information officer, and a lot of other people in various positions, management positions, end up having FEMA training. Response, where you learn the structures of working with other branches of government and how to respond. So you must have a lot of state training, FEMA training, federal training.
We do. All the firemen have certain FEMA training that's required, that they have to have. And then, of course, through my degree in emergency management, I had to do a lot more FEMA required training. So I have a whole list of all the different FEMA training classes I've had to take over the years.
And one thing before we get into the various branches, it's not just fighting fires or spending time in between shifts. And I do want to mention this. We had that discussion. Firefighters have kind of odd schedules. You're on for 24 hours straight. That doesn't mean you're awake for 24 hours straight. If it's nighttime and there's a chance to catch a quick nap, your people might do it. But what's it like schedule-wise to be a firefighter?
So it is a very good schedule. It is a very demanding schedule. We are on 24 hours, and then we're off for 48 hours. So we run 3 platoons, A shift, B shift, and C shift. But when you're on 24 hours, you're available for a call 24 hours a day, no matter what you're doing. You could be in the shower. You could be asleep. You could be cooking a meal. You could be working out. But when that bell rings, you've got to get up and go. So even though we have the ability to sleep at night, provided we're not on a call, if that call comes out at 11, midnight, 1, or you're up all night long, you may never see the bed. And so it makes it tough on those 2 days off because you've got to recover when you're 48 hours off to be ready to go back to work on that next 24-hour shift.
Do firefighters still slide down poles when they're groggy and trying to get into their uniform?
Not anymore. We don't have any stations here in DeSoto with the poles. There's not many stations around anymore that have. Now, there are some, and there are actually some fire departments in the state that actually still use poles, but most of that went away over the years due to injuries, due to firefighters sliding down the pole groggy and twisting or breaking an ankle. But we don't have any poles to slide down here in DeSoto.
You know, I'm really dating myself on this one, and I might be the only one who realizes it, but I'm remembering the old Batman show from the late 60s. I think they used to actually slide down a pole and come out in their uniform.
They did.
Firefighters aren't as coordinated as Batman.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. So let's talk a little bit about the fire service and pretty impressive accomplishments. I do apologize because the layout of this slide masks a little bit of the word But first of all, you have the highest ranking, I guess, of a fire department could have nationally, or accreditation, ISO 1. I could be wrong, and if I am, set me straight. But what does this mean, and what should this mean to DeSoto residents?
So the ISO 1 is a rating given by the insurance service office, and they go out and they rank fire departments on a scale 1 to 10 based on a whole criteria thing, how quick you respond, your training, just they go through the whole entire fire department. And so and I don't have the exact number. I know Chief Duffield had it before, but there's not a lot of departments in the state, in the nation, that have an ISO 1 rating, and we do. And that's a big thanks to Chief Duffield and what he did during his tenure here. And what that does is that helps attract businesses because it lowers insurance premiums. So when a business is looking at where do I want to go, if I can pay less insurance because of our fire rating, because of how quickly we get to the building, because of our water system, how many hydrants we have in the city, obviously a business is going to come here versus go somewhere where it would cost them more in insurance.
I don't think people give enough thought to that. And when I was buying a house recently, one of the things I was told is your insurance could be higher or lower depending on your proximity to a fire hydrant.
That's correct. And that is one of we have a lot of fire hydrants, and kudos to the City of DeSoto of how the fire hydrants are laid out in this city. So there's not many places in this city that you're going to go where you're not right close to a fire hydrant, which helps us when we're fighting fires, when we can get water quickly.
So let's see, what else do we have? We have ISO 1. Mm-hmm. Your fire vehicles, or apparatus, as you call them, what does that mean, upgraded fire apparatuses to advance life support?
So obviously our ambulances have all the equipment, right? And so everybody knows, and we talked about this in the town hall meeting, we are cross-trained. So the firefighters are also paramedics, and they take turns. One day they may be on the fire engine, and the next shift they may be on the ambulance, so they go back and forth. But what we've done is we upgraded our fire engines to have all the medicines and drugs and cardiac monitors it needs to become advanced life support. So there's times where an ambulance may be out on another call and another emergency happens and we have to wait on an ambulance to come in. Well, what we do in that instance is we send the fire engine, because they will get there quicker and they have all the equipment on that fire engine an ambulance does, so they can start taking care of the patient. The only thing they can't do is transport to the hospital, and that's where that ambulance comes in.
I've seen this in the bigger city. I don't know if we have the vehicles to do this on every call, but why, when an ambulance is dispatched, do you also sometimes see a fire truck?
So we send fire trucks on ambulance depending on the type of call to have more manning, because it requires more work to do depending on what's wrong with the person. And also, if it's a critical call, we will take firemen off the fire truck and put on the ambulance to have extra hands on the way to the hospital. And there's only certain types of calls that we'll send the fire engine, but that's it's for additional personnel to have enough people to handle the emergency at hand.
And some people might consider it a dog-cat situation, but I find that DeSoto Fire and Police, except for a little bit of teasing back and forth, you work pretty well together, and I've heard of instances where police will start the emergency first aid to be relieved by paramedics, or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen and heard of cities that don't have good relationships between the fire and police departments. I'm happy to say we have a very good relationship with our police department here, and we work interchangeably. If they get there first, they've been known to start rendering aid and start whatever needs to be done, and then they've come to our aid before. We talked about, we had the grass fire recently where they brought their drones out to help us fight those. So we work hand in hand and work really well with our police department.
And that's really important. And not only with the DeSoto Police, people may not realize it, but sometimes you may see a DeSoto ambulance in Cedar Hill. Sometimes you might see a Cedar Hill or Duncanville. I'm just throwing them out. I hope I'm accurate with it. Depending on where someone is when there's an emergency call, Southwest SWRCC, Southwest Regional will dispatch. We use the same dispatchers as our neighbors. So they will see that there's a fire and that there's no DeSoto fire truck nearby there. They may call for Cedar Hill or Duncanville.
That is correct. We almost function as if we're one big city with Cedar Hill and Duncanville, because our theme is to get the closest emergency equipment to that person regardless of where they reside. So we do a lot of crisscrossing back with Duncanville and Cedar Hill to get an ambulance or a fire engine there as quickly as possible.
Is Lancaster separate on that?
So Lancaster is separate on that. They have their own dispatch system. Now, they help us out on the east side of town. So when we have stuff going on there, it's a lot quicker for them to get over. And then vice versa, when they need us, we can go across and help them. So, but because they have a different dispatch, it's set up a little bit differently than Cedar Hill and Duncanville, since we are all dispatched out of the same center.
That's pretty cool. And I've seen, we had a meeting just the other day, and I saw parked behind, I think it was the library we were meeting, there was a Cedar Hill fire truck, a DeSoto fire truck, and you mentioned it was they're doing training.
That's right. We do a lot of combined training. In fact, this week we're doing some wildland training for grass fires, and all 4 cities are involved: Lancaster, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, and us, and we're all doing the training. We use the Blue Bonnet rooms a lot because it's a big room, and everybody comes here and we do the training, in the classroom portions of the training here.
It's very comforting to know that when you run into a issue on the border, the help doesn't stop.
That's right. Yeah. Don't think anything of it if you see a Lancaster fire engine or ambulance or Cedar Hill. That's just because they were closer than us at that time, and they're just there to help. And
one thing that we were talking about earlier, not as critical as the other functions you do. I've gone to the grocery store, and I've seen firefighters, usually from the other outlying cities, pushing around a cart filled with meat, vegetables, mostly healthy ingredients that I might not want to eat. But when someone sees that, what should they know about firefighter shopping? This is not a fun shop. This is necessity.
Great question, Matt. So since we are there 24 hours, and I'm sure most everybody knows the firemen, they cook all 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but they go to the grocery store to buy those meals. And one of the biggest questions we get at the grocery store is people think that the city pays for those meals for the firemen, and that is actually not true. The firemen are just like anyone else that goes to work and has to buy their lunch. They have to buy all 3 meals out of their own pocket while they're at the fire station. So every guy at the station pitches in X amount of money, and they all go to the grocery store and they buy their breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the day to go back and cook so they can eat.
It's communal food, so you're not going to have fights breaking out about dreamsicles or anything.
Well, every once in a while.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Even in families, you folks you're living together, and that's something I want to get into in a second, because we're talking about not only disaster response, and 2 things mentioned off of this slide. We're looking at thermal imaging, and then I want to talk about how you're accommodating female firefighters. Female firefighters. There we go. I need some of that coffee. But first, Chief Jerry used to say, oh yeah, we invented thermal imaging, where you have the helmet and you could actually look and see if there's smoke or something, you could see where a person is or where a hot spot is. How did that come about?
So thermal imaging's been in the fire service for a while, and for a long time, our officers or our captains on the fire engine would carry a big thermal imaging camera, and what that does is that allows you to see heat signatures inside a fire, so you can see people that may be down where you can't see through the smoke, but that camera will allow you to see. And then what Chief Duffield had decided to do was he went out and we got little handheld thermal imaging that would clip on the firefighters' bunker gear, so they could actually take it and look and see for themselves, not just the captain or the officer that was in charge of the crew inside. So everybody inside the fire had the ability to look through and see.
Now, so we were the first. We may have saw the need for it, and we were the first, but I think some larger department in California might have got credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, L.A. County maybe. There was a big fire department out in California that did this exact same thing.
Yeah. On the other hand, we've taken so many of their residents in L.A. County or whatever, and I'm sure everybody out there is happy about that. Well, maybe not all the time, but yeah, a lot of California people coming here, which hopefully translates to a little bit of a firefighting pool where you could do that. Let's talk about that in a second, but Fire Station 2 and Fire Station 3. The big difference is it's not just guys in a firehouse, and you have to make some not just reasonable accommodations. You want to make things comfortable.
That's exactly right. We have more and more we're seeing women want to get into the fire service, which is phenomenal. But prior to that, at least when I started here, the room situation was an open format. So we had one big room with all the beds in the same room, and then one big open shower, kind of like at a gym or something, where you would just walk in and have shower heads, and that's obviously not conducive for the male-female thing. So what we've done is we remodeled Central Fire Station back in 2007, I believe, and we separated the bedrooms and the showers so it's more conducive for male-female. Obviously, Station 2, we just opened up and completed that new build in, let's see, we just moved in a year ago, so in 2021.
So we're just looking at Station 1. That was remodeled in 2007. So there were improvements, but Station 2, which I'm going to right now, this is the state of the art.
That is a beautiful fire station. I invite anybody to come by and see it. We'd love to show it to you. We're very proud of that fire station. It also houses our administration offices. But again, just like that remodel at Central Fire Station, this new building at Station 2 allowed us to do individual bedrooms and individual bathrooms. So now we have separation for the female firefighters and the male firefighters at that.
And that's a real interesting building. First of all, I remember after some event, I don't know what it was, but I was talking to the city manager and his deputies, and Chief Jerry said, "We need to go by the firehouse. I need to show you this." And we went there, and basically he was pointing at the floor, like a non-slip floor, I think it was.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about what is different about that than other firehouses.
So firemen can be dirty, right? We're out, we may be out fighting fire and we've got dirty boots or we're walking through mud. And so one of the things that we've learned over the years is having carpet and linoleum and stuff like that. We scratch it up or we get it dirty or we stain it and it's hard to clean. So with this fire station, we decided to go with a stained concrete, and then we come back and did non-slip flakes to put into the overlay on the concrete. One, it's easier to clean, and we don't have to worry about stains anymore because we're on bare concrete.
Oh, that's an aesthetic improvement and a safety improvement.
Absolutely.
But I understand that the direction of the main portion of this firehouse was built to be away from the direct winds, and that this is designed to withstand a direct tornado hit or something along those lines.
That is one of the strongest buildings I've seen built. We have a safe room in this building to withstand. We have signs at the station that tells you the winds and the missiles it'll withstand. It'll withstand a lot in the safe room that we designed and developed on this building.
And it's used as a emergency response center. I think we used it as part of our command center during the first winter storm.
We did.
And we distributed water when a lot of residents out there. I should add, there were no boil orders in DeSoto, and there was during that winter storm, and we kept our services going. It was mostly the private services that got knocked out by that big winter storm that happened about a year ago. But the thing is, when we provided water and had to give away, when our allies assisted us, the local emergency response person and the state, we distributed from there.
We did.
So we're coming into the lightning round because there's probably more to show than to talk about. So let's go into, let's see, we remodel, and we'll begin to remodeling of station number 3 in 2022.
Under the same concept as the other two, to separate the bedrooms and bathrooms for male and female firefighters.
Okay, moving on from there. Fire rescue. You have a whole bunch of vehicles. Real quickly, what are we looking at?
So at each station we have a fire engine and an ambulance, except for Central Fire Station. That fire engine is called a Quint. So it has a ladder on top and it can pump water through the fire hoses, where Station 2 and 3, they just have pumps where they pump water. Now they all carry ladders, but only Station 1, the Quint, has the big aerial ladder that'll go up.
Is that what they call a hook and ladder?
That's very similar to the hook and ladder, yep.
Okay, so we're talking, that's the fire rescue function. EMS, all of our firefighters are trained as emergency medical responders. Doesn't automatically mean paramedic, but ultimately that's what they strive for?
That's right. There's different levels. So EMT or basic is the first level, and then paramedic is the end level. And all our guys, from me all the way down to the bottom, everybody will become a paramedic if they're not, or they already are a paramedic.
But that's not going to, someone doesn't have to be a trained firefighter or paramedic when you apply for the job.
No, we will hire you without any training, and we will send you to all that training.
When you are hiring, I know DeSoto, when someone's in a community, I've heard two schools of thought. Someone said, I don't care what the color, gender, or ethnicity of a person pulling me out of a fire is, as long as they're pulling me out of a fire. On the other hand, people want to see in their community someone who looks like them, who maybe has a shared experience. And the challenge is the fire service has been traditionally not only white, but firefighters in the family going for generations and generations. So DeSoto has a pretty impressive record with not just our makeup of our fire department, but also how we recruit. So tell us a little about that.
Absolutely. So we put together a recruitment team for that very reason. We found that there's a lot of people in our community that just don't know about the fire service. They don't know that that's a career option for them. So we put a recruitment team together that's working, trying to get into the schools. You'll see them around town at different functions. We have scholarships that we offer to send only DeSoto graduates and DeSoto residents to fire and EMS training, because we want to get people in this community interested not only in the fire service so they can go enjoy this great career, but we want them to be firemen right here where they live. And that is our goal, and that's why we put that recruitment team together.
And if you look at the National Fire Service, what was it? I think we're talking maybe 8% of all firefighters nationally was it classification as minority or African American, or how does that break down?
So the national African American breakdown is 8%. Because of our recruitment efforts here in DeSoto, we are now up to 15% African American within our fire department. And with our new recruitment team, I truly believe that's going to continue to rise.
And there was a catch-22 that I know that you and Chief Jerry and others worked on with the city in the past. If you're a certified firefighter and or paramedic, that's what hiring at one time was open to. So that's going to favor the people who have the background and are already firefighters, which was predominantly white. DeSoto waived that requirement, figuring we want to get the best talent, the best person as a firefighter, and then train them.
That's exactly why we did it. We wanted the best person to train, not somebody who just had the ability to already have the training and come in. And since we have done that, I mean, the people that we have hired for this fire department have been phenomenal.
Level playing field is always important.
Absolutely.
Now, and I've heard our mayor use that phrase many times about that's what we're striving for. So kudos to DeSoto Fire. You may not see it, but there's tremendous strides being taken by this department, and they're going to be continued by Chief Southard.
Yeah,
there's two Bryans in the command position, so maybe I'll just call you by your last name. Fire inspections. Matter of fact, you talk about opportunity in the fire department. Our fire marshal, Brandon Freeman, was recently promoted to fire marshal. So how does that work? Because I thought he held that title before.
So he was a firefighter that was assigned as the fire marshal, and then with the new city manager come in, he let us create the position the way it should be created, and through that process, Brandon was able to promote as the fire marshal. Now understand, before that, Brandon on his own went out and received and got all the training that he needed to be qualified for that position, because as a fire marshal, you have to be a peace officer, you have to have arson investigation.
Peace officer, are you saying he's a cop too?
He's a cop too. Yeah, he's a cop too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. When I heard that, as a matter of fact, he's a super guy, no nonsense. I know he came around City Hall. He was in my office asking me, why do you have this plugged in over here? Explain yourself. It's like, okay, because of the following. But that's good to know that he's very hands-on. Let's see what we're talking about next. Emergency management. And I think people didn't fully realize the role that fire departments played in emergency management until after 9/11, unfortunately, but that woke up a lot of people.
Right, absolutely. So emergency management, every city is a little different. Some people put it up under the police department, actually, but here in DeSoto and in most of the North Texas area, the emergency management is up under the fire department, and it's just another thing that we do within taking care of the citizens in the event of an emergency. And that includes most people think of emergency management, tornadoes or something, but it also includes the ice storms, which we went through last year.
And I want to give a plug to our liaison for 4 cities, Lauren Sanchez.
Absolutely.
She is the regional EMS coordinator.
She has the longest title of anybody I've
That's
ever met.
why I'm guessing
the
at it.
Regional Emergency Management Coordinator for Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Lancaster, and Duncan. I think I got that right.
And we work with her. As a matter of fact, there's an initiative with the mayor that was born out of, the mayor was in office, all of 2 or 3 days. She was sworn in, and then we got that winter storm.
Right.
So she took she had a special interest in it to begin with, but she wanted to turn something bad into something good, and she saw how the community works, so we put together an organization where we try to plan for the next emergency by having a structure in place, and Lauren is a key factor in that.
Lauren is awesome, and Matt, you go to the training, but Lauren trains all 4 cities, not just the fire department, but all departments within the city. We train year-long, getting prepared in the event that an emergency strikes so that we can respond and take care of our citizens.
And the fact that we work side by side with our neighbors means that when it happens, there's not going to be a breakdown because, Cedar Hill's here, Duncanville's there. We know everybody. We know how they operate. We know what their equipment is.
That's exactly right.
So we're talking EMS, and finally the Fire Training Center, and I make fun of the Texas accent a little bit, say it's also known as the FAR Training Center, even though it's close. We just had a changeover there. We have a new person in charge.
That's right. We just hired, I'm assuming you're talking about CC.
Yeah.
Ms. Curtis. She is our new training center coordinator. She just come on about 2 months ago, I believe, and she is doing a phenomenal job. She's a prior educator, so school that's her passion. So we hired her on, and she's done a great job. The training center, it's open to the public. Anybody can come, and this is
So it's not a locked-in deal.
No.
You just have to be able to pay for it.
That's right.
Or if you can't pay, I'm sure there's probably grants or something.
We have scholarships. That's part of that. We was talking about earlier, the recruitment team. We have scholarships that we give to bring people to this school, and that's what our recruitment team's out working, because we want to give out all these scholarships. We want everybody that maybe if you can't afford to come, but you've always thought about a career change, give us a call. Let us help you.
And if you're on Wintergreen, probably around, I don't know if it's Osprey or whatever, but it's a little east of Hampton Road, you might see a big tower out there. And that's part of the fire training.
That is part of the fire training, yep.
So we're just wrapping up. Okay, I got to congratulate you and say, we have a civic academy in DeSoto, and all of the different departments get together and give training to the people who sign up for Civic Academy, people who are very civically active or want to just learn how government operates. And out of all the presentations, and they voted, and I know that there's a court challenge on this, literally, DeSoto Fire won. Could you hold up the belt? And we got a camera, there. Here, you could hold it up. I'm gonna join you there. Aim at that camera.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's greetings to the other city departments and the court system, which is conducted right here. We know that Scott Kurth is he is completely balanced and neutral when it comes to judging the law, but when it comes to this competition, I guess he's thrown down on you guys, so he's got to come and get it.
Yeah, I think Judge Kurth's feelings were hurt a little bit that the fire department won the belt, but I love every department in this city, but obviously the fire department is the best, as you can tell by the belt, as voted by the citizens of the Civic Academy.
Now, we feed people in Civic Academy. Usually it's like something like a burrito or chicken dinner. Fire department spent some extra time smoking and preparing.
We did. We smoked ribs this year for the Civic Academy. And next year, if you're interested in the Civic Academy, come on out, because we're going to be we're going to smoke something, but it'll be a little different than ribs next year.
Well, I hope it's legal.
It will be.
Okay.
And delicious.
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty good. Finally, just wanted to give you a big thank you.
Thank you.
It's a big job, and we know you're up to it, and you got a good team there. And our best to Chief Jerry, who was out there, probably watching this show.
Probably so. He's probably going to call me soon.
He's probably taking notes. And we just we're glad that we were able to promote from within, and you wear that belt like a natural. I don't know. I think your phrase probably to the other city departments, what, come and get it?
Come and get it. There you go.
Anyway, thanks a lot. This is DeSoto In-Depth. I'm Matt Smith, and Bryan Southard has been our guest, our new fire chief. and we'll join you next week with another exciting topic.